Let me check. Yes, we're live. So, hi everyone. We have Bandy Lee joining us today. And Bandy Lee is an American psychiatrist whose scholarly work includes the writing of a comprehensive textbook on violence. She is a specialist in public health approaches to violence prevention, who consulted with the World Health Organization and initiated reforms at New York's Rikers Island Correctional Facility. Uh, I just read that from, let me see here. I just read that from lots of things popping up. I just read that from Wikipedia, but may you please oblige us with a little more of yourself? You could say it much better, Bandy. Thank you. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. So,
you're welcome.
I'm Dr. Bandy Lee. I am a forensic psychiatrist and violence expert with about 25 years of experience. I have been an expert witness for the courts in about over 200 cases. Approximately 60 of them have been in family court across about 30 different states in the United States. But I, of course, have been hearing about stories from all across the world, as well as within the United States. I'm president of the World Mental Health Coalition, co-founder of the Violence Prevention Institute. I've taught at Yale School of Medicine and Yale Law School for 17 years before joining the Harvard program in psychiatry and the law. I've also consulted with the World Health Organization on violence prevention, have also consulted a number of governments on how to prevent violence in prisons and in the community. And I have become much more involved in family court reform since learning about the violence that is happening in family courts since about 2 or 3 years ago.
So you're a very beautiful and effective advocate at perhaps educating and informing governments and other organizations worldwide. Having said this, what has been your success with orienting children's rights and the family rights and the parental rights? May we go that way for a few moments, if you will?
Yes, I had advocated for the safety of children since 2007 when I co-authored for the UN Secretary General Kofi Annan the chapter on violence against children. Little did I know that there was an entire institution that has been placing children deliberately in harm's way. I only learned about this institution, which is the family courts, or I would say so-called family courts, because in the United States, and I imagine in other places, they are almost entirely untethered from the law. They are also untethered from facts and reality. What they essentially do is take children from loving, nurturing, caregiving parents who usually have done most of the child rearing and transfer them to the custody of their rapists, batterers, and even murderers under the guise of custody adjudication. But what actually happens is that the children are essentially being sent to their abuse for an industry that amounts to $175 billion per year in the United States alone, according to one study. It is a form of child trafficking, and I would say a modern day child slave trade that is largely unknown to the public because family courts seal their records and place gag orders and operate in total secrecy and total impunity.
Exactly. Thank you. And what we're uncovering here in Europe, Sister Nya is currently in Austria, and I am transient in Romania at the moment. What we're uncovering is this systemic pattern worldwide, as you alluded to. And most recently, a very impressive inquiry that you had in Arizona involving the real life experience with your sister as well, and what she had incurred at this wickedness, this evil, and this injustices. Um, what I wish to just add is that we're seeing that this is intentional and that it is a worldwide network. It is a crime ring of this. And for us, there is absolutely no excuse by governments to allow this to exist. So, with that, may you expand upon this a little bit more and perhaps with your own real life experience, what you have
Yes.
discovered and seen. Thank you.
I had been a violence expert and an expert witness for the courts for 20 years before I found out about family courts. I was never in a family court case professionally because, as I later learned, family courts do not like highly trained professional experts. They usually go for master's level or even less at times, unlicensed in my sister's case. Um, uh, So-called experts who will uh, essentially rubber stamp their predetermined decisions to give the child to the abuser. Um, what happened in my sister's case was that that was my first exposure to family courts. It seemed like she was at first undergoing a normal divorce, but within months of her ex-husband was an absentee father. He suddenly imposed parenting time on his children. And of course, without any parenting skills or experience, they started screaming, crying, regressing back to diapers. They, at one point, even tried to set the house on fire because going to him was torture and worse than death. Well, he slammed my 7-year-old nephew's head against a window, almost crushed his skull. Previously, he almost killed my niece as an infant by throwing her in the air to land headfirst on a head on a concrete and metal floor, almost killing her then. So he was placed on a restraining order. Now, we would expect family courts to protect children in these circumstances. What they did was they canceled the restraining order, essentially made it useless, closed down 3 Child Protective Services investigations, and blocked all experts who were willing to attest to the father's dangerousness and unfitness to parent. In our case, there were 6 world-renowned forensic experts who unanimously stated that the father was a danger to his children. But 4 months after that restraining order was dropped, he was given sole custody. It was done in a secret meeting, an illegal ex parte meeting where the guardian ad litem, who's supposed to protect the children, met with a judge and eventually, she accumulated over 600 documented lies and acts of perjury in this court. None of that mattered. The children were seized in a violent police raid without warning during the mother's parenting time with the children, as assigned by the guardian ad litem herself. And later, it was learned that the police had been lied to by the guardian ad litem and the father, but and criminal charges against my sister were instantly dropped, but the children were never returned. And the father never got prosecuted because the court was protecting him. And he proceeded to try to murder my sister and almost succeeded 11 times. She was hospitalized 8 times, in the ICU once, and now she's become disabled. But he is the one rewarded with sole custody, child support, all marital assets, his legal fees, the house, and even her life insurance policy, which the judge ordered her to keep beyond the divorce, uh, despite his attempts to murder her. And she's about to be evicted uh, against medical advice that could be life-threatening. So not only are the judge and the ex-husband colluding, not only did they kidnap the children, they're using that as an excuse to take everything from her and potentially even to cause her murder. Now, this is Judge Jane Galena Mecca in Bergen County, New Jersey. The same judge and the same guardian ad litem, Evelyn Nasirios, have dozens of litigants, victim litigants have gotten in touch with me since I have been writing about them. They have, they actually, the judge herself has been connected to a number of murders. By the way, mothers whose children are taken from them in family court have a 12-fold increase in risk of death in the 10 years following their children being taken, which is not surprising given the manner in which they're taken. But I'm speaking from the epicenter of family court abuses. I myself am located in New York City. It started in New York about 45 years ago, and it spread all across the 50 US states, the same formula of taking children from the loving primary caregiving parent and giving them to their tormentors and their rapists, batterers, and murderers by the rate of 100,000 children per year in the United States. As I said, it's a $175 billion industry that's been exported abroad, and every country that has adopted the same tactics are seeing the same kinds of devastation among families where mothers and children are in danger, and sometimes fathers, if the fathers are loving and the caregiving parent. But overwhelmingly, women and children are in danger, and that is why 2 years ago, the UN Special Rapporteur wrote a report, a scathing report on the family courts for the UN Human Rights Council that says family courts are a dangerous place for women and children.
Exactly. And you're an advocate for children's rights and have done work and participated into that beautiful aspect. And I'd love to touch on that a little bit later. But first, what I wish to say, it is so absurd, it is so preposterous, and it is so blatant that there is something much more deeper and sinister that is occurring with this whole thing worldwide. Yes, it connects into trafficking of the children. There is
Yes.
also that obvious intent to separate the children mostly from their mothers because of that, let's say, one reason, that important bond between a mother and a child, which indicates there are deeper reasons for what is going on here. Having said that, without I being any more of a power of suggestion, if you will, uh, I wish to ask you your personal depth and opinion on this. Why is it so evil and sinister and occurring? And what is your personal opinion and perspective on this? Because it's preposterous, as we know.
Yes. I think you are correct in evaluating these actions as intentional, intentional and forced against all other institutions and societal norms that are oriented to protecting children. And it is done, I believe, based on my involvement as an expert witness in about 60 family court cases. That means I examine all the evidence, at least examine the primary parent with the child, because it's usually the victim parent who gets in touch with me. In a few occasions, I've been court appointed to evaluate all the family members, including the abuser. I have independently done evaluations of abusers because of the level of danger they pose on the child. And that kind of evaluation can happen without consent, uh, based on objective data that you have available, as well as collateral reports and victim interviews. So I've gathered personally, examined enormous amounts of evidence, looked at the cases. Usually I'm the one who is most knowledgeable about each case, far more than the guardian ad litem, who hardly ever does any research, certainly more than the judge, and more than either party. So, and my conclusion is that the problem is that family courts have been given such great authority to be able to do benevolence for families. In other words, they're given far greater discretion than ordinary courts. They are, in other words, they can act without oversight and with impunity, especially because they can make their cases secret. And that power is even given to them generously, because there are children involved and sometimes sensitive details involved. But case seals are supposed to be narrowly tailored. And in other words, concern only the part that would harm the child by becoming publicly known. But instead, what I find is that all cases are almost blanket sealed, to the point where everything that concerns a case, the case cannot go to other courts. Criminal courts cannot examine evidence that happens in the family, and no one else can investigate what has happened with a family, because family court has monopolized all jurisdiction over them. And that, mind you, is one judge. No jury is allowed, no court watchers are allowed, no reporter or researcher is allowed in family court. Not only that, mothers have been arrested and jailed for years at a time for simply stating that they love their child, or simply trying to reach out to the child who has been suddenly separated from them traumatically, in the most traumatic fashion possible, because usually they abruptly separate them in a police raid, like as in my own sister's case. All the same guardian ad litem, Evelyn Asirios's cases, have been done by police raid in order to maximally traumatize the mother so that she cannot fight back, and the children so that they will become bonded with their abuser when they're isolated with them. It's called traumatic bonding, or more informally, a Stockholm syndrome,
Stockholm
because it
syndrome.
actually,
Yeah,
yes, it happened. In
indeed.
Stockholm, in an incident where women were captured, and they were kidnapped and isolated from the world for 5 days, and they came out saying wonderful things about their captors. That one even got engaged, another formed a defense fund. The reason this happens is not because uh, they truly found the captors to be good, but rather because of the extreme trauma of their being isolated with someone who had life or death power over them. And this happens in concentration camp situations, in domestic violence situations. And here we are, the court orchestrating conditions where the child will gain a Stockholm syndrome, traumatically bond with their captors because they have no choice. Their life is in danger and they have no contact with the outside world. And it's from the extreme trauma that they develop this kind of um, defensive psychology in order to protect their
Mm.
minds from unbelievable pain. The children,
Absolutely.
in other words, conditions we don't see out anywhere else outside of family court are generated within family court. And if the children are old enough and they don't comply, they are sent to torture camps called reunification therapy, which essentially does the same thing. Forcibly isolate the child with the abuser, take away all their contact with the outside world, and prohibit them from protecting themselves. And they are these so-called reunification camps are generally start with 5 days for $40,000, and they're sent to a remote motel, sometimes out of state, because many states in the US have banned this kind of so-called therapy, but they are still, it continues to be a lucrative business. And because courts have such power, they are
But
acting unity.
hmm, if I may, but let's look at this. It's blatantly unjust. It contradicts law. It defies all law, what's occurring. And and then we also look at who gives the family court in child services this authority. And when we look at that, it's the government itself and its legislation. So what we look at also is that the family courts acting in this manner is condoned by the oversight committees of governments.
Yes.
And there is no excuse with this. So having said this, also the governments are fully complicit in this crime with allowing the family courts all of this impunity, but also not being transparent at concealing crime. So we actually have, when we look at who is actually responsible and allowing this to occur and are complicit, it's the government bodies themselves worldwide. And of course, other, let's say, elitist organizations and big money because of the big business with this worldwide. And, very quickly, you have pointed to so many things, and we only have an hour, and of course, perhaps half hour now. And of course, there's so many things that we could go into. So right at this time, so far in the interview, we have identified, yes, it's very true. All children worldwide and parents as well are at serious risk because of this criminal ring worldwide that is still ongoing, and all of the psychological conditioning, experimentation as well, which is involved in this, as we know, and that's why the depths of it does go into something much more sinister. But I need to also say, where the governments allow it to occur, they are also part of it. And that is blatant to see. One quick thing, what I come to find out in a bit of research with Euro Adopt. What I need to say with that, in the UK and with some of the funding supporting for that from the UK, when I look at a small geographical area like the UK and where I see 75,000 children vanishing in 1 year, with about almost 10,000 around London alone in 1 year. It's ridiculous. Where do these children vanish to? It becomes very obvious they're not in the countryside or they're not around the towns because they would not be vanishing. And we also just add in with Austria and Italy, over 20,000 refugee children vanishing coming from Afghanistan, Syria, Africa, and what have you. And Sister Nya's case is in Austria, and that is, if you will, one of the last ports of call for over 20,000 refugee children, I believe, just between 2021 and 24. So having said this, when we put all the pieces together, this is a huge worldwide crime. It is unlawful and it is stopping now with everything that we do to expose it publicly. But also the people need to understand worldwide that they are the power, and also, it is the full responsibility and moral obligation of the people in every nation worldwide to stand as one, because no government would exist if the people did not vote for them to represent them. So the real onus is on the people worldwide. The governments have become complicit and even criminal in allowing this to occur. And it's up to the people to stand up and protect our children in this very time. So Euro Adopt is also being exposed as we speak, and things are becoming more clear with that. Do you, on what I just said, do you wish to add or expand upon that? Your knowledge is invaluable in depth, and you said you've been at this 25 years, so you do have that expertise. May you enlighten us with some more, please. Thank you.
Yes. My involvement in family courts is only about 3 years, but I have certainly seen enough across the United States. I haven't been in courts abroad, but in the United States, uh, I would agree with you that uh, there are many complicitous bodies, and without public awareness and a public initiated movement, it would be very hard to change. But with public awareness, there's great potential. What's happening in the US is that the Arizona Senate has begun a series of public hearings where they have invited uh, victim litigants in family court to state their testimonies, and it has become undeniable that case after case after case has shown a pattern. Now, I've testified in front of 9 different legislatures so far, and Arizona and Idaho are the first publicly aired ones. And I can tell you that this is an enormous leap that had not happened before. Before, even for significant hearings, um, the legislators themselves grew afraid or were threatened. They were retaliated against and could not run for re-election. Some were even afraid for their safety. One senator of Georgia even died in relation to trying to expose Child Protective Services. And uh, so there's always been an impasse, but that impasse seems to be broken down at this moment with the series of hearings, unprecedented hearings, because there are full-length, day-long hearings that have gone on for the public to be able to hear from victim parents, to hear from children who have who are either old enough or have become old enough to speak, and experts like myself. That's why my testimony in Arizona has gone viral. And so much is now being talked about. That gave Idaho the courage to do their own series of hearings, and at least a half dozen states have are in line to do the same. And they're discovering that the challenges they face are identical across all these different states. And I believe that if this were repeated worldwide, we would find the pattern to be near identical all across the board, because it is a playbook and it is a planned strategy to turn symptoms of abuse and trauma into mental illness, so that you would take away the child from the good parent, find any kind of psychiatric diagnosis. It's truly psychiatry Soviet style, meaning you give a false diagnosis to a healthy person simply for being a dissident, or simply for being inconvenient to your goals of sending the children to their torture, rape, battery, and murder. And why are family courts doing this? How are they able to do this? First of all, in the United States, family courts are kind of apart from all the other courts. They're not really courts, as I said. They're entirely untethered from the law. They can seal their records so that they have no oversight or accountability. Anything goes. They are like star chambers of England that were abolished 500 years ago. And so what happens in these secret courts is that they concoct things so that it looks like a valid legal process, but everything is turned on its head. I even have called family courts anti-courts, because everything is done in the opposite manner of an ordinary court of law. As I said before, high quality experts are shunned. In my sister's case, 11 highly credentialed, many of them world-renowned, psychologists and psychiatrists who reported that she had excellent mental health and exceptional talent in parenting, were all barred from her case. The
Wow. Yeah.
only so-called expert who was accepted was a person without a license, with only a master's degree, and who said she had tangential speech. That's the basis on which her children were taken from her, for her never to see them again for 4 years. How is that
Absolutely
even
ridiculous.
possible?
Mhm.
It would
Exactly.
never pass anywhere outside a family court,
Mhm.
but that's what they
But yeah,
do.
I may also wish to add, all of the lawyers are criminal and complicit in here, also that go in these family courts. They're not upholding law, and part of their obligation and their oath is to uphold law as well, meaning that if they see a judge acting in bias or unfairness or even unjustly, they are morally obligated to stand and not participate in the courts. So, having said this, all of them are criminal as well, because again, there is
It
not
has
the
become a
ignorance of law.
culture.
Mm,
It has
mm.
become a culture where you get along where you go along to get along, or you're ousted. There are judges who tried to oppose what was happening in family courts, and they were ousted and defamed, retaliated against. There are lawyers who try to defend their client, in other words, do their job. They are disbarred. um, Judges who are reported to their ethics boards are never removed or sanctioned. And so they have a perfect system where they have where they have created an enclosed system where only their buddies
It
and
is,
those who they know will do what they require are
but
kept, and either the rest are excluded or kept in the dark. There are some good family court judges who don't realize what's going on within the system, but as soon as they find out and try to oppose it, they are ousted.
they're gone. Exactly. Well, the great news with this, all of this exists not in the place of law, family law, or any part of law. So the good news is what we are also doing worldwide is we are ratifying a universal nation, which we refer to as divine-gpms.world, which has all of the laws and these laws as well. You're part of the UN and the UN Declaration of Human Rights. So all of these are uh, upheld, but also by absolute law and absolute truth. So the great news is we are currently ratifying this worldwide, and upon reaching the majority, all of the parents, children, family units are safe because not only because of the lawful stature of this growing universal nation, it's also because of its creation of comfortable money that goes hand in hand with this. And what I do say, it is the full replacement system for humanity. Uh, we are heading in that positive right direction to bring in real law worldwide. We're not quite there yet, but we are on the cusp of breaking through with all of the great work you are doing, Bandy. And I must say, and you are amazing. And I know Sister Nya would concur, and we're so grateful to have you in this great final battle of justice, if you will. Um, so again, having said this, the great news is that there is more than hope coming. It's hope being actualized. But we're here now, and until we get there, I don't see it very far away. But in this time, what you so importantly expressed for the people to stand, enough is enough. All of our children are at risk. It doesn't matter if you have a comfortable family today with two children, everything going great. If the system continues, everyone is at jeopardy, and at any moment they could be taken from you under the most ridiculous circumstance. For
No one is
Norway,
safe.
if you exactly no one,
No
even the
one is safe.
parents.
And
Mhm.
you are correct in that more and more families are being affected. It doesn't matter what background you are from. It doesn't matter how much money or status you have, it turns out, all can be held against you. And what they want is the child. And I think it's important also to connect this with the global child trafficking industry. Human trafficking is overcoming drug trafficking as the number one um, trade of illicit trafficking. And also the child pornography industry is heavily
And,
connected with family
and
courts.
And may we add organ harvesting into that mix? Do you feel that would have a place in there as well? And perhaps right at this point, may you uh, may you speak a little bit about the disappearing children after they're taken, let's say, in family courts? Um, do you have any information on some numbers on how many children actually began to vanish from foster care, but let's say vanish from the face of the earth as well. Do you have any statistics or any information you could share on bringing that attribute of this serious crime to some light right now?
Yes, I have to confess that this is the first time I'm hearing about such mass disappearances in relation uh, to this issue. I know that at least half of the cases that I have been involved in have been trafficked to child sex trafficking gangs. Um, I don't know if they are involved. Uh, these pedophilic rings, if you will, are known to operate up and down both coasts of the United States, and they are largely waiting for family courts to transfer children to their abusers, because the abusers are more likely to traffic, but I imagine they would also be more likely to sell, and even more so, children who are taken by child protective services. I recently heard a statistics that is very alarming, that 87% of children who come to the attention of child protective services go to the wrong parent. In other words, 87% of their decisions are incorrect. That's not by chance, and it's not an error or
Very high.
incompetence.
Mhm. And I believe so we do know it's a crime, but to make it not look so conspicuous, perhaps they allow 13% to go through. But it's very indicative with that high percentage. Yes, the intent, what is going on with this. What I also wish to share, we also are beginning public inquiries here in Europe to educate, inform, which are very important, the public inquiries. And in Germany, a huge problem all over Europe with many children vanishing. And the numbers of, as you mentioned, with children yearly vanishing in the US. I believe I looked up some numbers, 326,000 children, I believe vanished in the US just last year or 2023. It's absolutely ridiculous that this is allowed to continue, but at this time, no. It will not go further. Sister Nya, I've been speaking, and do you have any questions for Sister Bandy? Thank
Oh, I have
you.
to say you're very
Checking
powerful
our time.
and very on point. Everything what you said is everything in alignment with what we have figured out and investigated, all over cases. I have also connected with a lot of mothers, Europe-wide, but also, ones in UK as well. So everything is very on point. Everything what you have mentioned happens to I as well. So but I'm very curious. Do you also, because you spoke about the reunification center, something similar happens to my children. They were put in a crisis intervention center. And I'm very curious. Could you also give us some more insights about, because it happens to my children, the kind of alienation, but also, erasing the mother, but also some kind of experimentation, but also what else? Confirmation and indoctrination, what they're doing to the children. Could you give us more, in regards to this? Do you have any experience or data or, what have you to this, please?
Well, one does not have to have a degree or a detailed research to recognize that these are, as you said, indoctrination camps and torture camps, employing the same kind of techniques as Chinese communist brainwashing. And So in essence, you're isolating the child with their abuser in a torture situation, but they're also threatened. I've heard of children who have been threatened that they would never see their loving parent again. They would be separated from their siblings if they did not comply. And there's given a series of videos to watch, which are exactly intended to indoctrinate, to re-educate them into believing that their abusive parent is a good parent, that abuse is good and love is bad, and that the loving parent was the actual abusive parent. And they also they make use of human psychology and child psychology, as I had mentioned before, in a perverted way in order to make so just the way that they begin the reunification camps says a lot. You are separated from the loving parent, the well-bonded parent, for 90 days. And then you're required to give away all your phones, your contacts, any contact with the outside world, cannot even go to school. And then those 90 days extend to many months, years, usually until the end of the child's minority, meaning until they turn 18. And the goal is to brainwash them before they are let go so that they hate the loving parent. They cling to the abusive parent because that's the only parent they know. And of course, they are psychologically destroyed, dysfunctional for life, have enormous psychological and physical problems, substance abuse problems, relational problems. They are economically unable to be productive in numerous ways. I think one study showed that even 1 year of abuse produces $500 billion of losses in collective economic productivity. So we have a situation where the abuse is maximized because the one mitigating factor in the case of child abuse is to have their loving parent around, the primary supports. And they're not only isolating the child with the abuser, they're also breaking the ties with their loving parent, their one primary support. And child psychiatrist Len Shengold called this soul murder. So family courts are creating this design exactly to soul murder the children. And now I regret not asking all the violent offenders I've treated. I've seen, treated, evaluated about somewhere between 1,000 and 1,500 violent offenders in my career. And they have often described themselves as walking tombs or feeling dead inside. And I wonder how many of them are victims of family court. Given the massive problem that this is, I would imagine a large number of them have been forced into that situation by family courts. Of course, not all child victims become violent offenders. About a third of them do. But so not only are we creating for society violent individuals who have been violated against, but even if they do not become violent against others, they may turn violent toward themselves. And in essence, we are soul murdering these children. They also literally lose decades of life. They die on average 20 years earlier than those who have not been abused.
Exactly. I know you soon must go, Bandy. And the delinquent turnout is very high, as we know, of ones that do survive foster homes and what have you. Um, Bandy, I wish to show you Sister Nya when I believe this was the last time that she saw her children. Can you see it on the screen? I just play
Yes, it's a
this,
beautiful
and
picture.
it's a little video, and I just wish to show it to you for your quick evaluation. There we go. I'll play it just once more. So with that, this was the last time Sister Nya saw her children.
How
And
long ago? Oh,
July 7th, was it?
Yes, I think
June 7th, maybe.
3 months or something. I didn't see them, and 2 months I don't have any contact anymore. I
yeah.
always it makes me emotional.
And so the reason I put this up, because part of what they said Sister Nya could do is have a call with their children. But what Sister Nya did, instead of imposing upon the children because they're in custody with the alleged father, what she has done is that let the children call me when they wish. And as a result, the children have not called, and you just saw in that video that great love. So the point of this is that, yes, the children are being further alienated and kept from calling Sister Nya. Now, what I need to say, this was done against, any mom's real feelings, but this is such an important, unprecedented case in Europe that there is the lawful strategy with this, and how it exposes and presents even more incontestable evidence. But with your evaluation with that, you saw that mother-child bond in that love, right?
Yes, it's very touching just how much
Mm-hmm.
they just naturally express love for each other. They cannot, they can't hug the mother enough. These are the kinds of well-bonded mother-child relationships I see broken apart and just ripped to pieces in family court. And
So
you had
at
once
this,
asked what it is in family courts that causes judges and court actors to do this. I believe that family courts have become centers, congregating centers of dangerous personality disorders, including psychopathic and sadistic personalities. And those personalities, because of what they've been deprived in their childhoods, target the well-bonded parent-child relationship in order to destroy them. I believe that beyond all the profit and beyond all um, the lucrative schemes, that this really underlies the compulsion of the players, mostly judges, to engage in separating these parent-child bonds, the most fundamental human relationship that forms the basis of all families and communities, as well as society as a whole.
absolutely. So with the just perhaps in closing, and to put in here, against the Republic of Austria by Sister Nya, and also backed by the universal nation of gpms.world. There's a lawful lien of $1 trillion placed against Austria, and another lawful lien of 1.5 trillion euro placed against the insurance of the civil servants in Austria, for the simple reason that the insurance is also complicit for providing insurance for these criminals to continue these criminal acts. And where the insurance company of Austria itself has been notified of this incontestable criminal case and did not relieve or remove anyone from insurance, they are now also complicit fully into this. So we're at this point also that we have notified other nations of these liens against Austria, but now it's going deeper and further. As I mentioned about Euro Adopt, which has several European countries, and what is written in their charter is that any um, criminal acts by any child services, if you will, they have to be demembered from this Euro Adopt, which is a trafficking as well. But just to keep it short and to the point, we see emerging with Sweden out of Stockholm, if you will, Sweden with the prime minister. He was part of this adoption agency. So this is coming to light in the past, which is also connected to a Euroadopt. But what has surfaced is that in Colombia, in the past, this adoption agency, which the Prime Minister of Sweden is affiliated with, they took children from Colombian mothers and saying that the children, I believe, at birth had died, told the mothers that and had taken these children. And this is recorded. And to my knowledge, it is incontestable evidence that is just coming out now.
Yes.
And so these are very serious things, and the
Yes.
people must stand and are standing. So, with that, is there anything in closing or anything else that Sister Nya would like to ask? But what I would like to ask is, Bandy, will you come back again? And I'll leave that with you because I know we are in such exciting times for uniting the children back with the parents, that this saga is really heating up, but we're having the great effects to bring so much joy and happiness. And I see you as a major contributor of that. But
Yes,
I'll leave it with Sister Nya if she was.
Oh, no, I don't want to extend it, but my question would also be, would you come again, for a second interview? Because really great to collaborate and also, to go deeper into it. But we honor your time.
thank you. Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here, and I would like to. Yes, I would certainly like to return. And I also wish to commend you for all your efforts. I believe that Europe, even the UK, are far ahead of the United States in trying to place a stop on this spread of what really is organized crime. As you said, multiple layers of government and courts collaborating to allow this travesty to continue. And um, and the kinds of grassroots efforts that are needed to get this known and to build coalitions to stop this crime that's gone across borders is really happening by persons such as you. So please allow me to to give you my compliments and admiration. And yes, I would like to be as helpful as I can.
Oh, thank you so much. Same goes back to you. You know, I honestly, you know, I went, you know, I didn't, it happens, you know, months ago, but you know, we worked a lot, you know, through everything, also to the laws, and we spoke with a lot of mothers, you know, especially those who come to Austria, you know, they don't have any court at all. They just take away the children, right? So, but the thing is, you know, when I saw you stepping up, you know, it was so powerful. I was so grateful for someone, you know, speaking the truth and, you know, just sharing it publicly because it has to, you know. So I'm so grateful, and also for your time and coming in, you know, and also speaking live. So, and also, you know, to share this with other parents. So those will step up as well and to encourage and empower. So thank you so, so
Yes,
much.
I do think
Thank you.
all mothers, all parents should not be afraid to speak up.
Yes.
And the world will listen, as we're discovering.
Beautiful. Yes, perfect. Well, what I'll do is I'll stop our live broadcasting and we can have a few moments before you need to go. And with that utmost gratitude and respect and love for everything that you're doing as well.
Thank
And
you.
it'll be all over soon worldwide. We can guarantee that because the people are uniting, and it is the only way. So I will stop our live on Facebook.